Base Tikes Hamlet is the boy band of Shakespeare?
Because we are gonna show them a cheeky wee on the table.
Cheeky wee on the table?
Yeah, Ophelia.
Spoilers!
The super objective we have agreed for Hamlet is that the play is about the search for the meaning of existence.
Oh, that this two solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a Jew.
Now, okay, just about any play can ultimately be about the search for the meaning of existence, but this is the one where it is a no-brainer.
Because we kind of talked about this idea as when we arrive, Miranda and Prospero arrive on the island at night, right? And they kind of, they're aware of these eyes watching, and they come up onto the beach, and like in Lost, little by little they work their way into the woods, and they're aware of being followed. And then after a time they set traps for him, and they actually catch him. And he's this feral child, and then they put kind of tie him up with ropes, and they feed him, and then they dress him. They can't get shoes on him to begin with, but little by little he accepts that. They teach him language bit by bit each day, and then they kind of take him out maybe on a lead, and after a while he actually works his way off the lead. So it's kind of like it's, you know.
Do you remember, Shahid, when we had a session that was with Harvey, we were talking about Caliban's life before Prospero arrives on the island, the life before language, and the animals. What were we thinking about in terms of Caliban and the animals on the island?
Well, he was some sort of, he was, I recall something to do with, he was a feral child, that he'd befriended the animals. So in a sense they enabled him to survive on the island.
So he copies the animals.
And so naturally he would acquire some of their, I guess, their manners.
So he can mimic anything,
yes.
Yeah? What about what he eats? Did you work out his diet?
He's eating insects, herbs on the island, I guess.
Sushi.
Fish. Sushi.
Fishes, yeah, because he's referred to as a fish.
Yes.
So maybe that's something that could be worked in, that whole hunting thing. Because I think there's more we can do with that scene when you arrive.
Okay.
And that whole thing of Miranda and I looking out for you, and maybe you actually circle round, so people don't actually know where you're coming from. And when you come in, it's almost like at a lope, almost like an attack, you know. Because I think what's starting to emerge is like loads of humours coming in and like playing off of Ariel. But then that whole thing about you can be played just as a comic character, or you can be played as somebody who can be quite dangerous and threatening.
I think he has to be really a mixture of the whole lot.
Yeah, I think so as well.
You know, he's not just a comic character. He's not someone you laugh at. He's got this humanity, so he's quite, you know, he's quite dangerous. He's quite cunning, but I feel that he's very rounded.
Yeah.
A rounded character.
I mean, you kind of imagine him climbing a tree and just sitting there for an act and just watching.
Here we have a Caliban in its natural habitat, chomping on the leaves of this tall tree. Here in Moseley, there's only one of these in this area, though in Naples there is several. Ooh, that looks delicious, doesn't it?
Well, I must eat my dinner. This island's mine by Sycorax, my mother, which thou takest from me, and thou came first. Thou strokest me and made much of me. Would give me water with berries in it, and teach me how to name the bigger light and how the less that burn by day and night.
And just like, that would be quite cool, and then he just drops down, and that kind of thing whereby I suppose it's just about learning the terrain, or learning about the terrain when we're doing the shows, and just thinking, well, where would he hide? What would he do? I like that. I like the idea of us being scared by him, that you don't know where he's going to come up, like he's hanging in the trees.
Right under your feet.
Yeah, literally, you know, and that whole thing of sitting in the audience You know, maybe with with a a coat or your gabardine, and then just sitting there watching the action, and then suddenly you become Caliban, and then you kind of move off and move round.
I think he's always hungry. He's looking for food.
Even if he's killed something,
yes.
he'd go and he'd stow it somewhere, wouldn't he? And then he'd be off looking again. Because I have visions of like streams and rivers and caves and stuff where we'd bathe, or where he'd actually go after the fish, and
and he grooms himself. He takes great care of himself.
Well, that's something. If he's watched the apes, that whole thing about they groom each other, kind of picking it, What other animals are on the island?
There's lions. There's all sorts of exotic creatures there. Lots of different types of bird.
Yeah.
You can hear them. He's aware of them.
I also think because it's a magical island, there are different dimensions. I got the sense that beings from out in the universes are kind of travel to and through this place, and that they're the spirits. Some of them get trapped, so that they're not just things that people would know of the Earth. They might be like things that are alien or just wholly other. How you doing, Chick? You alright?
Good, yeah, you? Is this a new finding?
It is a creation. While Mum and Dad were watching The Hump Humiliated last night, I designed the island actually. So I did a little drawing, and then I did sort of like the bigger one to show where, in my head, everything's going on. So you've got Africa, where Clarabelle, which is Ferdinand's sister, is married, and they've come from Naples, which is here, and then Milan's further north, and they've sort of sailed past the island. And obviously when he raises the Tempest, it's obviously brought, I think it's sort of, the Tempest brings it onto the shores here. And I designed these sort of 6 beaches and sort of put people around them. Now, this is the Med, so Bermuda, well, to get to it this way, you'd go through the Med over the Atlantic, and then sort of skirt the foot of the Americas, and then you've got these beaches, which you can see a bit here. And what I thought was that they'd all be on these different beaches. So the ship is kind of put in this deep nook, because that goes to Bermuda. And Ferdinand's brought down onto this beach with these yellow sands. And what happens is Ariel brings him down the beach. Alright, and as he's bringing him down, he's taking Alonso and Antonio and their party up this beach away, so he's moving them around different ways. Prospero's cell is here. This is like a volcano, so it's like a cave. And what happens is I think Prospero and Miranda skirt the cave and then drop down and intercept Ferdinand there. The log store's here, so what happens is when they come back up, they leave Ferdinand there to come and carry the logs to the cell and just pile them there. Trinculo and Stefano are here on this sort of shore, and they're moving along here. When this is what I call Caliban's hunting grounds. I think that Prospero lets Caliban off the leash for a few hours to go hunt. We don't want to see him eating, do we?
Not really. So
he goes and hunts in these grounds, but if he strays too far, we punish him, we torture him, or I do anyway. So he intercepts Trinculo and Stefano here, and then he kind of brings them to the cell that way. Alonso, they come up here, and then they're kind of brought through. The Lime Grove could be here. Yeah, so that's how I see it anyway. And then Prospero Miranda's cell looks sort of, there's the north, and they're across to the northeast. They know that Italy's that way, and they know that Africa's down south. So I was just thinking, when we're on stage, it might be an idea to orientate yourself, so that when we're looking at that's north, maybe that's south, that's east, and that's west. So when you've got to go somewhere, you kind of can see where you are and where the cell is. It might not help you, the geography might be wrong, but I just found when I was thinking about where things were, then it helped me learn the lines.
Feed it, we'll come back for more.
It's like a pigeon. It's like a pigeon.
You should never feed a wild Caliban.